Have you ever looked at a map and wondered what lies beyond the edges? What if I told you there's a map, not of paper and ink, but etched into a slab of gleaming obsidian, that shows a continent that, according to our modern world, never existed? This isn't a fantasy tale. It's a mystery that intertwines ancient artifacts with modern technology. Imagine holding this obsidian map. It's cool to the touch, impossibly smooth, and carved with coastlines, mountains, and rivers that you won't find in any atlas. The civilization that created it is lost to time, but they left behind this single, tantalizing clue. For centuries, it was dismissed as a myth, the product of a cartographer's wild imagination, a phantom island on a grand continental scale. But what if it wasn't imagination? The story takes a sharp turn in the 21st century. We, with all our advanced science, started pointing our satellites at the most remote place on Earth, Antarctica. For over a century, this continent has been a vast, white blank spot on our maps, its secrets buried under miles of solid ice. We thought we knew what was there: rock, ice, and more rock. We were wrong. Using ground-penetrating radar and gravitational anomaly detectors, scientists began to piece together a picture of the landmass hidden beneath the ice sheet. And what they found sent a shockwave through the scientific community. The data started to form a picture, a ghost image of a continent long buried. There were vast mountain ranges, some taller than the Alps, and deep subglacial lakes the size of entire countries. But most shockingly, the emerging coastline. It started to look familiar. Researchers, some secretly, began comparing the satellite data with historical accounts of legendary lost lands, from Atlantis to Mu. That's when they stumbled upon the legend of the obsidian map. At first, it seemed like a long shot, a fringe theory. But as they overlaid the ancient map's coordinates with the subglacial topography of Antarctica, the pieces began to click into place. The strange bays, the jutting peninsulas, the snaking river valleys carved into the obsidian, they matched. The implications are staggering. It suggests that a sophisticated culture with advanced knowledge of geography existed when Antarctica was green and free of ice, a civilization that flourished and then vanished, leaving behind only this enigmatic message in stone. Who were these people? What technology did they possess to chart an entire continent with such precision? This wasn't a land of simple huts and campfires. The map hints at complex structures and settled areas. Think about it: a temperate Antarctica. Paleoclimatologists have long theorized about periods in Earth's deep past when the poles were warm. But this map suggests a civilization thriving in such a world we can barely comprehend. A world before the ice came. What happened to them? The most likely theory is a cataclysmic climate shift. A pole shift, a sudden and brutal ice age, could have entombed their entire world in a matter of generations. Did they flee? Did they perish? Or did they perhaps leave something behind, buried deep under the ice, waiting to be discovered? The obsidian map is more than just a chart. It's a treasure map. It's pointing us toward a lost chapter of human history. The technology to explore subglacial Antarctica is still in its infancy. It's one of the most hostile environments on the planet. But the allure of what lies beneath is undeniable. Every core sample we drill, every radar sweep we make, brings us closer to confirming the truth of this ancient artifact. We are standing on the precipice of a discovery that could rewrite everything we know about our past. The map shows us where to look. It tells us that history is not a straight line, but a complex tapestry with lost threads we are only just beginning to find. The continent on the obsidian map wasn't a fantasy. It was a memory, etched in stone, of a world that was lost. And now, thanks to our own ingenuity, we are finally able to read it. The continent under the ice is calling to us. The question is no longer if we will uncover its secrets, but when. What wonders, what knowledge, what warnings from a long-lost civilization are waiting for us, frozen in time? The next great age of discovery might not be in the stars, but right here on Earth, buried beneath our feet. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this exploration of history's hidden secrets, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries that surround us. Let me know in the comments what you think might be waiting for us under the Antarctic ice. Until next time, keep questioning. Today, we're journeying to a remote, windswept island off the coast of Yemen, a place shrouded in local legends and, now, a truly perplexing scientific enigma. This isn't just a story about ancient ruins. It's about a discovery that could challenge our very understanding of the line between inanimate objects and life itself. Our story begins with a team of maritime archaeologists charting the lesser-known islands in the Guardafui Channel. They were initially searching for ancient trade routes, shipwrecks, anything that could shed light on the region's rich history. On one particularly isolated island, barely a speck on the map, they stumbled upon something completely unexpected. Hidden within a series of natural caves, sheltered from the harsh sun and sea spray, were dozens of sealed earthenware jars. These weren't filled with coins or spices, but with a fine, shimmering black powder. At first, the team thought it might be a rare pigment or perhaps a type of ore stockpiled by ancient miners. The powder was unusually heavy and had a strange, almost magnetic quality. It clung to their metal tools. The real mystery began when they brought a few samples back to their makeshift field lab, which they had set up near a site of partially excavated stone carvings. These carvings, depicting figures from local folklore, were millennia old, silent sentinels of a forgotten time. Then an accident happened. A clumsy moment, a jostled table, and one of the open sample jars tipped over, spilling a cloud of the black dust onto a small, weathered stone statue of a gazelle. No one thought much of it at the time. They cleaned up as best they could and continued their work. But that night, things got weird. The lab was equipped with highly sensitive motion detectors as part of the security protocol for the valuable artifacts. In the dead of night, an alarm was triggered. The team rushed to the lab expecting to find an intruder or perhaps a wild animal that had wandered in. But there was nothing. The door was secure, the windows sealed. They checked the security logs and what they saw sent a chill down their spines. The motion sensors had registered a series of tiny, almost imperceptible movements, all originating from the exact spot where the dust-covered gazelle statue stood. Was it a malfunction? A glitch in the system? They ran diagnostics, but everything was working perfectly. The next day, out of a mix of scientific curiosity and a touch of disbelief, they decided to conduct a controlled experiment. They carefully cleaned the gazelle statue, and just as they suspected, the nightly motion alert stopped. The lab remained silent. Then they deliberately sprinkled a small amount of the black sand onto a different carving, this time a stylized human figure. They set up additional high-resolution cameras and more precise motion trackers, all focused on the statue. They didn't have to wait long. As dusk fell, the instruments began to flicker. The data showed minute, sporadic shifts in the statue's position, movements no larger than a few micrometers, but they were undeniably there. The stone wasn't just settling, it was exhibiting a pattern of movement that defied explanation. Analysis of the black powder revealed it to be a unique, naturally occurring magnetic dust with a complex crystalline structure they'd never seen before. The prevailing theory, and it's a wild one, is that this dust, when in contact with certain types of stone and exposed to the subtle fluctuations of the Earth's magnetic field, creates a micro-reaction. It's almost like the dust particles are acting as billions of tiny, independent motors, causing the surface of the stone to shift and move in ways that mimic life. Could it be a form of piezoelectricity, where the crystals generate a tiny electric charge in response to mechanical stress? Or is it something far stranger? The phenomenon is so subtle that without modern ultra-sensitive equipment, it would be completely undetectable. It makes you wonder, did the ancient people who gathered this dust know of its properties? Were the legends of living stones, or breathing statues, that echo in the region's folklore, not myths at all, but observations of this incredible natural wonder. The carvings themselves are made from a specific type of limestone, rich in certain mineral deposits. The team found that the black sand has no effect on other types of rock or materials. It seems to be a unique combination, this specific dust and this specific stone, that creates the effect. It's a geological and chemical lock-and-key system devised by nature itself. The implications are mind-boggling. We're not talking about magic or curses, but a previously unknown scientific principle. Imagine a material that can induce micro-movements in another. The potential applications in nanotechnology, robotics, and even medicine are staggering. But for now, the focus is on understanding the fundamental science at play. How is this happening? What is the energy source for these movements, however small? The research is, of course, in its very early stages. The team has secured the island to protect the site from contamination and exploitation. They're working under a veil of secrecy, trying to replicate the effect in a controlled lab environment far from the island. It's a delicate process. The phenomenon appears to be influenced by local atmospheric and geomagnetic conditions, making it difficult to reproduce elsewhere. This discovery on a forgotten island off Yemen forces us to ask new questions. How many other impossible phenomena are out there, just waiting for the right technology to reveal them? It blurs the line between geology and biology in a way we never thought possible. The stone isn't alive, not in any biological sense we understand. It doesn't metabolize, it doesn't reproduce, but it moves. It responds to its environment in a way that is active, not passive. What do you all think? Is this a revolutionary new field of science, or is there a simpler explanation we're missing? Let me know your theories in the comments below. This story is still unfolding, and you can be sure we will be following it every step of the way. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey today. If you enjoyed this exploration into the unknown, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next deep dive. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever heard the story of the monks who harnessed the power of thunderstorms? This isn't a fantasy tale. It's a mystery etched into the highest peaks of the Himalayas, a story of forgotten technology and incredible ingenuity that challenges everything we think we know about the ancient world. Let's journey to the remote mountains of Tibet, where whispers of lightning towers and godlike energy still echo through the valleys. Our story begins with ancient sketches and texts discovered in Tibetan monasteries. These aren't just religious illustrations. They depict robed figures, monks, standing atop mountains, seemingly directing and drawing down energy from violent thunderstorms. The drawings show intricate structures, towers that reach towards the heavens, not as places of worship, but as conduits for something powerful, something elemental. What were these monks doing? Were they simply praying for protection, or were they engaged in an advanced form of science we've long since forgotten? Local legends speak of a time when these monks possessed the Vajra, a mythical weapon often translated as a thunderbolt or diamond. In mythology, it's the weapon of Indra, the god of storms. But what if the Vajra wasn't just a myth? What if it was a real device, a tool used to control the immense electrical power of the sky? The texts describe these monks as masters of the elements, capable of performing feats that seem impossible. They were said to protect their communities, using this celestial energy for creation, not destruction. Could these ancient masters have understood atmospheric electricity centuries before Benjamin Franklin flew his kite? The most compelling evidence isn't found in a book or a scroll. It's carved into the very rock of the mountains themselves. High on a remote peak, explorers have found a mysterious, perfectly circular ring melted into the stone. Geologists have studied this formation, and their conclusion is baffling. The rock has been vitrified, meaning it was superheated to a temperature so intense that it melted and cooled into a glass-like substance. This isn't the mark of a normal lightning strike, which is chaotic and branching. This is a precise, controlled application of immense energy, focused into a perfect circle. The temperature required to vitrify rock like this is staggering, far hotter than a simple bonfire. It suggests an energy event of incredible magnitude, one that was contained and directed with pinpoint accuracy. The ring on the mountain perfectly matches the descriptions of the bases of these ancient lightning towers. It's as if a massive electrical current was channeled through a structure, down into the ground, leaving a permanent scar on the face of the planet. This vitrified ring is the physical proof, the smoking gun, that something extraordinary happened here. So, how could they have possibly done it? Let's speculate on the science. The key might lie in the materials and the location. The Himalayas are one of the most electrically active places on Earth, constantly battered by thunderstorms. The monks may have discovered that certain types of rock, rich in quartz and other conductive minerals, could be used to attract and channel electrical charges. Their towers might have been constructed from a combination of wood, metal, and specific crystalline stones, acting as a massive lightning rod. Imagine a tower tipped with gold or another highly conductive metal designed to attract the stepped leader of a lightning bolt. The energy would then be guided down the structure, perhaps through a series of coils or capacitors made from natural materials. This controlled discharge could have been used for various purposes. Perhaps it was used to create intense heat for metalworking, creating alloys and tools that would otherwise be impossible. The energy could have been used to create fulgurites, the glassy tubes formed when lightning strikes sand, but on a much grander, more industrial scale. Some theories go even further, suggesting the monks were practicing a form of electroculture, using atmospheric electricity to stimulate crop growth and increase yields in the harsh mountain environment. By charging the soil and water with this natural energy, they could have created a microclimate of abundance. It sounds like science fiction, but modern experiments in electroculture are starting to show promising results. Were these ancient monks pioneers in a field we are only just beginning to rediscover? The possibilities are astounding. Think about the level of knowledge this would require. It implies a deep understanding of physics, geology, and meteorology. They would need to know which mountains had the right geological makeup, what times of year the storms were most powerful, and how to build a structure that could withstand and channel millions of volts of electricity without being destroyed. This wasn't primitive superstition. This was advanced, empirical science, passed down through generations. It was a technology perfectly harmonized with its environment, using the power of nature without exploiting it. So, what happened to this incredible knowledge? Why don't we see lightning towers on every mountain peak today? Like many ancient technologies, it was likely lost to time. The knowledge may have been held by a select few, a secret order of monks. When that order faded, so did their science. Invasions, changing climates, or simply the passage of centuries could have erased this chapter of human history from our collective memory. All that's left are the cryptic drawings, the hushed legends, and the silent glassy ring on a mountaintop, a testament to a forgotten age of genius. This story of the Tibetan lightning monks forces us to reconsider the capabilities of ancient civilizations. We often view the past through a lens of primitivism, but what if some ancient cultures possessed scientific knowledge that, in some ways, equaled or even surpassed our own? They may not have had smartphones or the internet, but they had a different kind of wisdom, a deep, intuitive connection to the natural world and its powerful forces. The monks didn't just see a storm, they saw a source of limitless, clean energy. The mystery of the lightning towers is a powerful reminder that there are still so many secrets buried in the past, waiting to be uncovered. It challenges us to look at ancient myths and legends not just as stories, but as possible clues to lost histories and forgotten technologies. The evidence is there, burned into the rock, for anyone willing to look. These monks may have been masters of the storm, true geniuses who touched the sky and brought its fire down to earth. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey to the top of the world. What do you think? Could ancient monks really have harnessed lightning? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this exploration into forgotten history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the unknown. See you next time. Imagine a metal that bleeds, heals, and even has a pulse. It sounds like something from a sci-fi blockbuster, but what if I told you this incredible material was forged not in a futuristic lab, but by an ancient civilization thousands of years ago? This is the story of a discovery that is rewriting our understanding of history and challenging the very limits of modern science. Our journey begins deep in the Indian subcontinent, at an archaeological site shrouded in mystery. For decades, experts believed they had uncovered all its secrets, but tucked away in a forgotten chamber, a small, unassuming artifact lay waiting. It looked like a simple metal disc, dark and unadorned. It was catalogued, stored, and almost forgotten. That is, until a junior researcher, let's call her Dr. Eris, accidentally dropped it during a routine inspection. A hairline fracture appeared across its surface. Heartbroken, she placed it back on its velvet cushion, documented the damage, and prepared for the worst. But the next morning, something impossible had happened. The crack was gone, vanished without a trace. Dr. Eris couldn't believe her eyes. She ran every test she could think of. Was it a trick of the light? A hallucination? She even intentionally made a small, precise scratch on the edge of the disc. She set up a time-lapse camera, and what she witnessed overnight was nothing short of miraculous. The footage showed the metal slowly, almost organically, flowing back together, the scratch sealing itself completely by dawn. The artifact wasn't just old, it was alive. The news sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The disc was sent to the world's most advanced materials science labs. Experts from every field, from metallurgy to quantum physics, gathered to study this impossible object. They subjected it to every test imaginable: electron microscopes, mass spectrometers, particle accelerators. The results that came back only deepened the mystery. The alloy was a complex blend of known metals, like iron and copper, but also contained trace elements that scientists had never seen before, elements that didn't appear to exist on the periodic table. Its atomic structure was unlike anything they'd ever documented. It was a crystalline lattice, yes, but it behaved more like a biological tissue, capable of reorganizing itself to repair damage. It was, for all intents and purposes, a metal with a healing factor. How could an ancient culture without the benefit of modern technology create such a material? The site where the disc was found offered few clues. Ancient texts from the region spoke of sky metals and living stones, gifted by the gods, but these were always dismissed as myths, poetic allegories. Now, scientists were forced to reconsider. Could these myths be literal descriptions of a lost technology far beyond our own? The initial excitement soon gave way to a creeping sense of awe and even unease. As the research continued, another bizarre property was discovered. The metal emitted a faint rhythmic pulse. It was almost imperceptible, a soft thrumming that could only be detected with the most sensitive equipment. The frequency was incredibly low, but it was steady, consistent, like a slow, deep heartbeat. The metal wasn't just healing itself, it seemed to be breathing. The team tried everything to understand this pulse. Was it a reaction to Earth's magnetic field? A release of stored energy? Every hypothesis led to a dead end. The pulse seemed to originate from within the alloy itself, an intrinsic property that defied all known laws of physics. It was as if the creators had imbued the very atoms of the metal with a life force. Attempts to replicate the alloy have been a humbling exercise in failure. Even with the exact elemental composition identified, every sample created in the lab is just a dead lump of metal. They can mix the iron, the copper, and even synthesize the strange trace elements. But the result is inert. It doesn't heal. It doesn't pulse. The secret ingredient isn't a substance, but a process, a lost art of creation that seems to border on alchemy or magic. This discovery forces us to ask some profound questions. Are we really the pinnacle of technological achievement? Or are we just the inheritors of a world filled with the forgotten wonders of our ancestors? Think about it. We build skyscrapers that can withstand earthquakes and computers that can process billions of calculations per second. But an ancient civilization, with tools we would consider primitive, created a material that thinks, heals, and lives. The implications are staggering. A self-repairing metal could revolutionize everything. Imagine airplanes with wings that heal mid-flight, bridges that mend their own stress fractures, or medical implants that seamlessly integrate with the body. It's a technology that could save countless lives and reshape our world. And yet, the blueprint for it is locked away in a single, silent artifact from a forgotten age. Some scientists now theorize that the manufacturing process might have involved something we no longer understand, perhaps a form of acoustic levitation or sonic resonance to arrange the atoms in their unique, living structure. The ancient texts speak of chants and frequencies used by master craftsmen. Could the chanting have been a form of advanced sonic engineering, using sound to program matter itself? The research continues, but the object guards its secrets well. It sits in a high-security lab, its soft pulse a constant reminder of how little we truly know. It's more than just a piece of metal. It's a message from the past, a challenge to our modern hubris. It tells us that history is not a straight line of progress, but a complex tapestry with threads of genius and forgotten knowledge woven throughout. What other wonders lie buried beneath our feet, waiting to be rediscovered? The self-healing metal is a testament to the fact that the universe is full of mysteries, and some of the greatest ones are not in distant galaxies, but in our own history. It's a humbling reminder that true wisdom isn't just about inventing the future, but also about having the humility to listen to the whispers of the past. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. If you found this story as mind-blowing as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the mysteries of our world. We'd love to have you in our community. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever heard of a place that seems to operate on a different set of rules from the rest of our world? A place where science hits a wall and ancient mysteries come alive? Today, we're journeying into one of the most baffling archaeological discoveries of our time, a tomb that literally reacts to moonlight. Imagine this: a team of archaeologists deep within a newly discovered burial complex stumbles upon a chamber unlike any other. The walls are bare, the air is still, but the ceiling is a celestial map, covered in intricate symbols that don't match any known language or star chart. For weeks they study it, documenting every detail. But then the night of the full moon arrives, and everything changes. As the first rays of moonlight pierce through a cleverly designed aperture in the chamber's roof, something incredible happens. The symbols on the ceiling begin to glow with a soft, ethereal light. But that's not all. Witnesses, standing in stunned silence, swear that the symbols weren't just glowing. They were moving, slowly rearranging themselves into new patterns as if the ceiling were a living, breathing star chart. You can imagine the excitement. This was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The team immediately set up high-definition cameras, motion sensors, every piece of recording equipment they could get their hands on. They were ready to capture this phenomenon for the world to see, to analyze it, to understand it. They positioned their gear, checked the feeds, and waited for the next full moon. The night came. The moonlight streamed in. The symbols began their celestial dance once more. The team watched, holding their breath, knowing their cameras were rolling. But when they went to review the footage the next morning, their excitement turned to utter disbelief. Every single recording, from every camera, every sensor, was completely black. Not corrupted, not static, not a glitch. Just pure, absolute blackness, as if the events had been deliberately erased from digital memory. They tried again the next month and the month after that. They brought in different equipment from different manufacturers, specialists in optics and digital recording. They shielded the devices from potential electromagnetic pulses. They even tried using old-school film cameras, thinking maybe the phenomenon was digital-specific. The result was always the same. The human eye could see the spectacle, but any attempt to record it was met with a void. It was as if the tomb itself refused to be captured, protecting its secret from the outside world. What could possibly cause this? Scientists and theorists have been scrambling for an explanation. One leading theory suggests the materials used to create the symbols possess unique quantum properties. Perhaps they emit a specific type of radiation or energy field when excited by moonlight that interferes directly with the light-capturing sensors and cameras, effectively blinding them. This energy might be completely harmless and invisible to the naked eye, but catastrophic for our technology. It's a phenomenon that would rewrite parts of our understanding of physics. Another, more speculative idea delves into the realm of ancient technology. Could the builders of this tomb have possessed a form of knowledge far beyond our own? Perhaps the chamber acts as a kind of sophisticated projection system, but one that operates on principles we haven't yet discovered. This projection might be designed to be ephemeral, a private show for those physically present, with a built-in defense mechanism against being recorded. It sounds like science fiction, but when faced with a reality like this, all possibilities have to be on the table. Think about the implications. This isn't just a glowing ceiling. It's an interactive message from the past, a message that changes with the lunar cycle. The shifting symbols could be a calendar, a complex astronomical clock, or even a story unfolding over centuries. Without the ability to record and analyze the patterns frame by frame, deciphering this message becomes an immense challenge. Researchers are now resorting to the old ways. Teams of artists and scribes sit in the chamber during the full moon, frantically sketching the patterns as they change, trying to create a composite map by hand. This process is slow and painstaking. Each sketch is just a snapshot, a single moment in the celestial dance. By comparing sketches from different full moons, they hope to identify repeating patterns or a coherent sequence. It's like trying to understand a movie by looking at a handful of random frames. But it's the only way they can even begin to crack the code. What's even more fascinating is the purpose behind such an elaborate and secretive design. Why would an ancient culture go to such incredible lengths to create a spectacle that could only be seen, not recorded? Was it a sacred ritual, meant only for the initiated who were physically present? Was it a warning, a piece of information so powerful or dangerous that they wanted to prevent it from being easily spread? Or maybe it was a test, a puzzle left for future generations to solve, challenging us to develop new ways of seeing and understanding the world. The tomb forces us to confront the limits of our own technology and the possibility that ancient civilizations knew things we have long forgotten. We often view the past through a lens of simplicity, but discoveries like this shatter that perception. It suggests a deep, sophisticated understanding of light, materials, and perhaps even the fabric of reality itself. The mystery of the tomb that reacts to moonlight continues to baffle and inspire. It serves as a powerful reminder that there are still wonders in this world that lie beyond our current comprehension, waiting in the dark to be discovered. Every full moon, a silent, luminous performance plays out in that ancient chamber, a secret shared only with those who are there to witness it. And for now, that's exactly how it will stay. What do you think is happening inside this incredible tomb? Is it advanced ancient science, a natural quantum phenomenon, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories down in the comments. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the world's greatest mysteries. See you next time. Have you ever held a piece of history in your hands and felt a connection to the past? A faint whisper across millennia? Well, what if that whisper wasn't just a feeling? What if it spoke back to you in your own voice? Today, we're delving into one of the most baffling and intriguing archaeological mysteries ever unearthed, the artifact known as the Oracle Skull. Discovered deep within a collapsed cave system in a remote, undisclosed mountain range, this artifact immediately sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. At first glance, it appears to be a remarkably well-preserved human skull. But this is no ordinary relic. Carbon dating tests, conducted by multiple independent labs, place its age at an astonishing 4,000 years, dating it back to approximately 2000 BCE. To put that into perspective, this was the time of the great pyramid builders in Egypt and the rise of Babylonian civilization. But its age is only the beginning of the mystery. The skull was found surrounded by unusual mineral deposits not native to the region, hinting at a place of great significance. Local legends, passed down through generations, speak of a whispering ancestor, a sacred object that could answer the deepest questions of the heart, but only for those who dared to listen. For decades, these stories were dismissed as folklore, but the discovery of this skull made everyone reconsider. What if the legends were true? The initial scientific analysis revealed something that defied all known understanding of ancient technology. The skull's surface is coated with a microscopically thin layer of a crystalline compound. This compound, when analyzed, was found to possess unique piezoelectric properties, but the real anomaly was discovered by accident. During a routine handling procedure, a researcher wearing standard latex gloves noticed nothing unusual. But when another researcher, momentarily without gloves, picked it up, a nearby radio receiver in the lab began to buzz with static, its frequency meter spiking wildly. They couldn't believe it. They repeated the experiment, and the results were consistent. The skull seemed to react to direct human contact. This is where the story takes a turn from scientific curiosity to the realm of the truly inexplicable. Further testing confirmed that when human skin comes into close proximity, within a few millimeters, the crystalline structure on the skull begins to resonate. It doesn't generate its own power, but it acts as a phenomenal passive amplifier for ambient radio frequencies. It essentially turns the surrounding electromagnetic spectrum, the invisible sea of radio waves from distant stars, our own planet's magnetic field, and even modern broadcasts, into a concentrated field of energy. This in itself is a scientific marvel. How could a civilization from 2000 BCE create such a sophisticated piece of resonant technology? But the local legends didn't talk about amplifying radio waves, they talked about a voice. This is where Dr. Eris Thorne, a specialist in psychoacoustics, entered the picture. Intrigued by the phenomenon, he proposed a radical experiment. He theorized that the skull might be interacting not just with the skin, but with the subtle bioelectric field of the human body itself. He suggested that a person should hold the skull and ask a question, not out loud, but by focusing their thoughts. The first volunteer, a cautious but curious archaeologist named Lena, held the skull in her hands. The room was silent, filled only with the soft hum of recording equipment. She closed her eyes and, in her mind, asked a simple question. What is my earliest memory? Seconds ticked by. Suddenly, a faint garbled sound emanated from a highly sensitive microphone placed near the skull. The team enhanced the audio, filtering out the static. What they heard sent a shiver down everyone's spine. It was a distorted, electronic whisper, but the voice was unmistakably Lena's. It said, "Yellow duck, bathtub." Lena gasped. It was her earliest, most deeply buried childhood memory, something she hadn't consciously thought about in over 30 years. The experiment was repeated with other volunteers, and the results were just as stunning. A historian asked about a niche detail of the Peloponnesian War, and the skull whispered back a specific date and name, in his own vocal timbre. A linguist thought about a rare, dead language, and a single, perfectly pronounced word from that language was heard. It always answered in the user's own voice, as if accessing their own knowledge, or perhaps something deeper. So, what is happening here? The prevailing scientific theory is a complex form of auditory pareidolia, combined with a unique biofeedback loop. The idea is that the skull amplifies random radio noise, creating what's known as white noise. The human brain is hardwired to find patterns in randomness. Think of seeing faces in clouds. When a person holds the skull and focuses on a question, their brain is primed to hear an answer. The skull's interaction with the body's biofield might somehow influence the amplified static, subtly shaping it into frequencies that the brain then interprets as the user's own voice, pulling the answer from their own subconscious. Essentially, the skull might be a key that unlocks the door to your own mind, allowing you to access information you didn't even know you had. Another, more fringe theory suggests something far more extraordinary. This theory posits that the skull isn't just interacting with the user's brain, but with a broader field of information, what some have called the collective unconscious or the Akashic record. In this view, the skull acts as an antenna, and the human user is the tuner, dialing into a universal library of knowledge. The information is then filtered through the user's consciousness and vocal patterns, which is why it's heard in their own voice. This would explain how it might provide answers that feel new or forgotten. It's a mind-bending concept that pushes the boundaries of our understanding of consciousness and the universe. Of course, there is a great deal of skepticism. Many argue that the results are simply coincidence, suggestion, and the brain's powerful ability to deceive itself. They point out that the answers are often fragmented and require interpretation, much like a psychic reading. They demand more rigorous, double-blind studies to rule out any psychological influence from the participants and researchers. And they are right to be skeptical. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The original discoverers and the local community, however, hold a different view. They see the skull not as a scientific tool, but as a sacred object, a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. To them, trying to dissect its magic with science is like trying to measure a feeling with a ruler. They believe its purpose is not to provide concrete answers, but to prompt introspection and self-discovery. The legend says it answers questions from the heart, and perhaps the answers were always within us, waiting for the right key to be turned. The oracle skull remains in a secure, undisclosed location, accessible only to a select few researchers. The debate rages on. Is it an unparalleled piece of ancient technology, a key to the human subconscious, a gateway to a universal consciousness, or simply a fascinating geological anomaly that plays tricks on the human mind? Perhaps the true nature of the skull is not to give us answers, but to make us ask bigger and more profound questions about history, consciousness, and our place in the cosmos. What question would you ask if you could hold it? What secrets from your own mind might it whisper back to you? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this exploration of ancient mysteries, please hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Let me know your theories about the oracle skull in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever heard a story so incredible, so mind-bending, that it completely changes how you see the world? Get ready, because what I'm about to share with you is one of those stories. It's a tale that blurs the line between science fiction and reality. A mystery buried for millennia, not in the sand, but under layers of volcanic ash. This is the story of the Glass City, a lost civilization found in the most impossible place imaginable, inside a volcano. For decades, legends whispered among local islanders spoke of a sunken star at the heart of Mount Kalia, an ancient, dormant volcano. They said their ancestors came from a city that shone like 1,000 diamonds, a city that angered the gods and was swallowed by fire and water. To most, these were just myths, campfire stories to explain the strange, shimmering sands on the island's black beaches. But in 2023, a team of volcanologists and marine archaeologists, drawn by unusual seismic readings, decided to investigate the volcano's flooded caldera. What they found would send shockwaves through the scientific community. Imagine this. You're a diver, descending through the dark, warm waters of a volcanic crater. The visibility is low, clouded by mineral-rich sediment. Your sonar picks up something. Not the jagged natural rock you'd expect, but something with straight lines, right angles, and perfect curves. It's a structure. As you get closer, your light cuts through the murk, and you see it. It's not stone. It's not metal. It's a wall of gleaming, obsidian-like glass, fused together seamlessly. You've just found the first building of a city made entirely of glass. The initial discovery was breathtaking. An entire city, sprawling across the crater floor. But as the exploration continued, the true mystery began to unfold. This wasn't just glass, like from a bottle. Analysis of the samples revealed it was rock, superheated and vitrified, meaning it was melted and instantly cooled into a glass-like state. The structures themselves were impossibly smooth, with intricate patterns and designs fused into their very surfaces. Think of it like a lightning strike hitting sand and creating a fulgurite, but on an unbelievable city-wide scale. So, the first big question was, how did this happen? The obvious answer is the volcano. A super eruption could certainly melt rock. But there was a problem with that theory. A typical volcanic eruption is chaotic, destructive, and messy. It would have shattered and buried the city in pumice and ash, not flash-fuse it into a perfect crystalline metropolis. The buildings were still standing, their forms preserved. It was as if they were flash-frozen in a moment of transformation. The energy required to do this, to melt an entire city so quickly and uniformly, was calculated to be greater than anything we can explain with conventional geology. Scientists were baffled. They ran simulations, studied the composition of the glass, and mapped the entire underwater complex. The city was advanced. It had plazas, towers that spiraled towards the water's surface, and what appeared to be channels for water or some other liquid. But there were no tools, no inscriptions, no bodies, just the silent glass structures. It was a ghost city, preserved in a way that defied all known laws of nature. This led to some wild theories. The leading hypothesis, and this is where it gets really interesting, is that this civilization wasn't destroyed by a natural disaster, but by their own technology. What if this city, nestled in the heart of a volcano, had harnessed geothermal energy on a scale we can't even comprehend? What if they had built a massive power source, a reactor nucleo of sorts, deep within the Earth? And what if that reactor went critical? Picture a catastrophic energy release, an instantaneous wave of heat, hotter than the surface of the sun, radiating outwards from the city's core. In a fraction of a second, every stone, every street, every building would be subjected to unimaginable temperatures, melting and then instantly solidifying as the surrounding cold water of the caldera rushed in. This would explain the perfect vitrification, the lack of blast debris, and the eerie, preserved state of the city. It wasn't an eruption that destroyed them. It was an accident of their own making, an industrial catastrophe on a mythological scale. This theory opens up a Pandora's box of questions. Who were these people? How did they develop such advanced technology millennia ago, only to be wiped out by it? Were they human or something else? The glass itself holds clues. Trapped within the vitrified walls are microscopic air bubbles, actual pockets of their ancient atmosphere. Scientists are now working on a way to carefully extract and analyze this air, which could tell us about the world they lived in. Furthermore, the very structure of the glass is a data storage medium, in a way. The patterns and refractions of light passing through it are not random. Some physicists believe these patterns could be a form of data, a message or record of their final moments, burned into the glass by the energy surge itself. We might be looking at the world's oldest and most durable hard drive. Deciphering it, however, is a challenge that could take decades. What we're looking at is a civilization that rose to incredible heights and then vanished in a flash of light, leaving behind a beautiful, terrifying monument to their own ambition. It's a cautionary tale, written in glass at the bottom of the ocean. It reminds us that with great power comes great risk. They tamed a volcano, but in the end, they unleashed a power far more destructive. The exploration of the Glass City is ongoing. Every dive brings new discoveries and even more questions. It has become a global effort, with experts from every field bedingungen to unlock its secrets. Is it the lost city of Atlantis, a previously unknown branch of the human family tree, or evidence of extraterrestrial visitation? We don't know yet. But one thing is for sure. The discovery of this impossible city has forever changed our understanding of the ancient world. It proves that there are still profound mysteries hidden in the deepest, darkest corners of our own planet, waiting to be found. What do you think happened to the inhabitants of the Glass City? Was it a technological disaster, a natural event we don't yet understand, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey to the center of a volcano. If you enjoyed this exploration into the unknown, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest mysteries. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you won't miss our next adventure. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious. Have you ever heard of a device that seems to defy all known laws of physics? An artifact so strange, it feels like it's straight out of a science fiction movie? Today, we're journeying deep into the heart of Turkey, into a hidden cave to uncover the story of a mysterious object that has baffled scientists and historians for years. A strange bronze clock that allegedly ticks only moments before an earthquake strikes. And the most unsettling part? After years of silence, it just started ticking again. Imagine this: a team of spelunkers and archaeologists exploring a remote, uncharted cave system in the Anatolian mountains. They navigate through tight passages and vast, silent chambers, their headlamps cutting through millennia of darkness. Deep within this subterranean world, they stumble upon a small, man-made alcove. And inside, sitting on a natural rock pedestal, is a device unlike anything they've ever seen. It's a clock, but not like any clock we know. Forged from a strange dark bronze, it has no hands, no numbers, and seemingly no internal mechanism. It's just a smooth metallic sphere set in an ornate circular frame. It was completely silent. The explorers documented their find, carefully removed the object for study, and the cave clock, as it came to be known, became an archaeological curiosity. For years it sat in a university lab, an inert piece of metal. Scientists analyzed its composition, an unusual bronze alloy with trace elements they couldn't immediately identify. They X-rayed it, finding no gears, no springs, no power source. It was a solid object, a beautifully crafted but apparently useless relic from an unknown civilization. It was labeled, catalogued, and eventually, mostly forgotten. A mystery with no clues. Until the morning of August 17th, 1999. In the pre-dawn quiet of the laboratory, a technician working late heard something. A faint, rhythmic sound. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It was the bronze sphere. For the first time since its discovery, the cave clock was active. The sound was low but clear, a steady, metallic pulse. The technician was stunned. He called his supervisor, and soon, a small group of bewildered scientists gathered around the ticking artifact. They had no explanation. How was it making a sound? Why now? Just a few hours later, they got their terrifying answer. A massive 7.6 magnitude earthquake ripped through the Izmit region of Turkey, a devastating event that shook the entire country. In the chaotic aftermath, as the nation grappled with the disaster, the scientists in the lab made a chilling connection. The clock had started ticking just before the earthquake. And as the aftershocks subsided, the clock fell silent once more. Coincidence? It seemed too incredible to be true. They began to pour all their resources into studying the clock. They placed seismographs and other sensors around it, hoping to catch it in the act again. But for years, it remained quiet. It became the lab's greatest enigma. Some researchers proposed wild theories. Was it sensitive to minute electromagnetic fluctuations in the Earth as crust that precede a quake? Others suggested it was a hoax, though no one could explain how it worked. The clock was a paradox, a silent sentinel that held a terrible secret. Over the next 2 decades, the pattern repeated itself, albeit on a smaller scale. Before minor tremors in the region, too small for most people to even feel, lab staff would occasionally report hearing the clock emit a few faint ticks, then stop. Each time, the activity correlated with a recorded seismic event. It wasn't just predicting the big ones. It seemed to be a hypersensitive earthquake detector, operating on principles we still don't understand. It became less of a historical artifact and more of an object of intense scientific scrutiny. Was this some form of lost ancient technology? A knowledge of geology and physics that we have yet to rediscover? The questions just kept piling up, with no definitive answers. The civilization that created it left no other traces, no written language, no other artifacts like it. There was only the clock, a silent monument to their lost genius. And that brings us to today. For the past several years, the clock has been completely dormant. The small ticks had ceased, and the lab returned to a state of quiet observation. But just last week, something changed. The chief researcher received an urgent middle-of-the-night phone call. The clock wasn't just ticking, it was making a sound louder and more rapid than ever recorded, a frantic, insistent pulse that echoed through the laboratory. For the first time, the ticking didn't stop after a few minutes. It has been ticking continuously, day and night, for over a week. The scientific community is on high alert. The team in Turkey is working around the clock, analyzing every piece of data they can gather. The constant rhythmic ticking is a deeply unsettling soundtrack in their lab, a constant reminder of what it might be predicting. So, what does it mean? Why is the clock's activity so much more intense and prolonged this time? Is it heralding a seismic event on a scale we've never seen before? Or is the clock's internal mechanism, whatever it may be, finally breaking down? The most terrifying possibility is that this ancient device is working perfectly, that it is warning us of something immense, an unprecedented geological shift building deep beneath the Earth's surface. Geologists are re-examining fault lines, governments are quietly reviewing emergency preparedness plans, and a handful of scientists in a lab in Turkey are watching a bronze sphere, listening to its relentless ticking, and hoping it's wrong. The clock's mystery has now become a global concern. This story forces us to question the limits of our own understanding. It suggests that there could be ancient technologies and knowledge that we've lost to time, technologies that are far more advanced than we give our ancestors credit for. The cave clock is more than just a curiosity. It's a humbling reminder that there are still profound mysteries hidden in the forgotten corners of our world. As the clock continues to tick, the world watches and waits, caught between scientific skepticism and a primal fear of the unknown. We are all listening to that ticking now, hoping it stops, but fearing what it means if it does. What do you think? Is this proof of a lost science or an elaborate, unexplained natural phenomenon? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey into the heart of a modern mystery. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the unexplained. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss our next adventure. Stay curious and stay safe. Imagine stumbling upon an iPhone in a medieval castle. It's a mind-bending thought, right? a piece of technology completely out of its time. Well, history is full of such mysteries, artifacts that make us question everything we thought we knew about the past. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most perplexing of them all, a device nicknamed the Pharaoh is radio. The story begins in the sun-scorched sands of Egypt, a land of pyramids, pharaohs, and ancient secrets. During an excavation of a tomb belonging to a high priest from the New Kingdom, roughly 3,000 years ago, archaeologists unearthed something extraordinary. Among the usual burial goods, canopic jars, intricate jewelry, and scrolls of the Book of the Dead, was an object that simply didn't belong. It was a perfect sphere, about the size of a grapefruit, meticulously crafted from a dark, polished stone. But its most astonishing feature was its interior. It was lined with a thin, gleaming layer of pure gold. Intricate carvings, unlike any known hieroglyphs, spiraled across its surface. This wasn't just a decorative object, it was clearly a piece of advanced craftsmanship. But the real shock came when the scientific team began their analysis. The sphere was emitting a faint but consistent, low-frequency hum. Using sensitive equipment, they measured the frequency. The reading was a steady 7 Hz. Now, for most people, 7 Hz doesn't mean much. But to scientists and engineers, particularly those in telecommunications and geophysics, that number is incredibly significant. It's known as the Schumann resonance, the natural resonant frequency of the Earth's electromagnetic field. More than that, it's a frequency that modern science uses for very specific purposes, including experimental long-range communication and even certain types of brainwave entrainment. How could an ancient civilization, supposedly limited to chisels and simple tools, create a device that resonates at such a specific, scientifically important frequency? The priest's name was Osirmun, a listener of the gods, according to the inscriptions in his tomb. His role was to interpret divine messages. Could this sphere have been his tool? A way to tune in to the gods? Mainstream Egyptology offers a more grounded, yet still fascinating, explanation. Some suggest it was a highly sophisticated ritualistic object, a symbolic representation of the sun, god Ra, with the gold lining representing his divine light. The humming, they argue, might be a natural phenomenon, perhaps caused by the interaction of the materials with subtle environmental energy, something the ancients recognized and revered, even if they couldn't explain it scientifically. However, this explanation doesn't quite satisfy the out-of-place artifact theorists. They point to the precision of the object. Creating a perfect sphere with a uniform gold lining would have been an immense challenge even for modern jewelers, let alone ancient artisans. And to have it resonate at exactly 7 Hz? That feels less like a coincidence and more like deliberate engineering. These theorists propose a more radical idea, that ancient Egypt possessed a level of technological knowledge that has been lost to history, perhaps inherited from an even earlier, unknown civilization. Could Osirmun have been part of a secret society of technicians and scientists, masquerading as priests? Perhaps their magic was simply misunderstood technology. Imagine Osirmun in a dimly lit temple chamber holding this sphere. As it hummed in his hands, was he listening to the Earth's heartbeat? Or was he receiving messages from distant lands? Or maybe, as the tomb inscriptions suggest, from something beyond this world? The carvings on the sphere, which remain undeciphered, might hold the key. They don't resemble any known language, but some have noted their similarity to circuit diagrams or complex mathematical formulas. Are we looking at a user manual for an ancient piece of tech? Let's explore the science a bit more. The 7 Hz frequency falls within the range of theta brainwaves, which are associated with deep meditation, creativity, and the subconscious mind. It's plausible that the priests used the sphere as a meditation aid. By holding the humming device, Osirmun could have guided his mind into a deep trance state, allowing for profound spiritual experiences or heightened intuition. In this view, The sphere wasn't a radio for communicating with others, but a radio for communicating with the inner self, the subconscious, or what they interpreted as the divine. It was a tool for hacking human consciousness, 3,000 years before the term even existed. This theory elegantly bridges the gap between the mystical and the scientific. It acknowledges the device's advanced properties without requiring us to believe in ancient aliens or a lost super-civilization. It suggests that the ancients had a deep, intuitive understanding of physics and biology that we are only now beginning to rediscover with our own scientific methods. They may not have had the language of Hertz and electromagnetic fields, but they understood resonance, frequency, and its effects on the human body and mind. They called it magic. We call it neuroscience and quantum physics. But the mystery deepens. Similar objects have been rumored to be found in other parts of the world, from the temples of South America to ancient sites in the Indus Valley. Is it possible that this was a global technology, a shared knowledge among the elite priestly classes of ancient civilizations worldwide? This idea opens up a tantalizing new perspective on our shared human history, suggesting a level of global connection and technological sophistication far beyond what is commonly accepted. Of course, we must remain skeptical. The story of the Pharaoh's radio walks a fine line between historical fact and speculative fiction. Some accounts of the discovery are difficult to verify, and the object itself is reportedly held in a private collection, away from public scrutiny, which naturally fuels suspicion and conspiracy theories. Is it a genuine artifact that could rewrite history, or is it a clever modern hoax designed to look ancient? Without the ability to independently study the sphere, we are left to piece together the puzzle from reports and testimonies. But even if the story is only partly true, it forces us to ask powerful questions. Are we underestimating the capabilities of our ancestors? Have we been too quick to dismiss their myths and magic as mere superstition? What other secrets might still be buried beneath the sands of time, waiting to challenge our modern assumptions? The tale of Osermun's humming sphere serves as a powerful reminder that history is not a closed book. It's a living, breathing mystery full of anomalies and paradoxes. Artifacts like this, whether real or legendary, ignite our imagination and push the boundaries of what we believe is possible. They suggest that the past might be far more complex and far more technologically advanced than we ever dared to imagine. It's a universe of what-ifs that keeps us digging, searching, and questioning. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the enigmatic world of ancient Egypt. What do you think? Was it a divine communication device, a tool for meditation, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this exploration of history's great mysteries, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown. Until next time, keep questioning. Did the ancient Mayans discover a form of bioelectricity, using human hearts to power their temples? It sounds like something straight out of a movie, but recent discoveries beneath a Mayan ruin are making some researchers ask this very question. Imagine, deep within the jungle, a temple not just of stone and prayer, but of strange, forgotten technology. This is a story that blurs the line between archaeology and science fiction. Let's travel to the heart of the Yucatan Peninsula, to a recently unearthed temple complex. For decades, archaeologists thought they understood Mayan pyramids. They were tombs, ceremonial centers, and astronomical observatories. But this new site presented a puzzle they had never seen before. Beneath the central pyramid, they didn't just find burial chambers. They discovered a network of interconnected tunnels and a mysterious chamber right below the main altar. What they found inside this chamber was baffling. It wasn't treasure, at least not in the traditional sense. Instead, they found intricate coils of hammered copper, carefully wound and connected by thin strips of the same metal. These coils were embedded within the stone structure, leading from a central point directly beneath the main altar and branching out to smaller altars throughout the temple. It was like a circuit board made of stone and metal. The archaeologists were stumped. Copper was valuable to the Mayans, but it was usually reserved for decorative jewelry or small tools. This was something else entirely. A large-scale, functional-looking installation. It looked suspiciously like an electrical system, something that shouldn't exist in a civilization from over 1,000 years ago. What was its purpose? The clues were on the altars themselves. Each altar had a concave, bowl-like depression at its center, stained with a dark, reddish-brown residue. Initial analysis confirmed what many suspected. It was human blood. This wasn't a surprise. We know the Mayans practiced ritual sacrifice, but the sheer concentration and the specific location of the residue, combined with the copper wiring, pointed to a more complex ritual than just a simple offering. The real shock came when they examined the statues. Flanking the main altar were imposing figures of Mayan deities, carved with incredible detail. Their eyes weren't just stone, they were inlaid with a rare, reddish mineral, a type of garnet. When the team ran a small electrical current through the ancient copper coils, something incredible happened. The garnet eyes of the statues began to glow with a soft, crimson light. It was an eerie, mesmerizing sight. The temple could literally be switched on. This discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. It led to a radical and admittedly controversial hypothesis. What if the Mayans weren't just offering hearts to the gods in a symbolic way? What if they were using them as a literal power source? This theory is called bioelectrical generation. It sounds complex, but the basic principle is surprisingly simple. Think about how our own bodies work. Our hearts generate a small electrical impulse every time they beat. It's what doctors measure with an EKG. This electrical energy is tiny, but it's there. The theory suggests that the Mayans might have understood this. A freshly removed heart continues to beat for a short time, spasming and contracting. What if they placed these hearts onto the altars, directly into contact with a saline or acidic solution that could conduct electricity? This is where it gets really interesting. The bowl-shaped depressions on the altars could have held such a conductive liquid. When a still-beating heart was placed inside, the electrical impulses could have been captured and channeled into the copper coils. It's essentially a primitive biological battery. A single heart wouldn't produce much power, but the Mayans practiced large-scale rituals. What if they used multiple hearts simultaneously? Imagine a high ceremony. The temple is dark, filled with the scent of incense and the sound of chanting. One by one, sacrifices are made, and their hearts are placed on the altars. As each heart is added to the system, the electrical charge builds. The current flows through the hidden copper network, and then, in the darkness, the eyes of the gods begin to glow red, one by one, looking down upon the worshippers. It would have been a terrifying and awe-inspiring display of divine power. To the Mayan people, this wouldn't have been science. It would have been magic. A direct sign that the gods had accepted their offering and were manifesting their presence within the temple. The priests who controlled this technology would have held immense power and influence over the population. They were literally the ones who could make the gods see. Now, let's be clear, this is still a theory. Mainstream archaeology is highly skeptical, and for good reason. There are many unanswered questions. How did the Mayans gain this knowledge? Where did they learn to create conductive solutions? And is the tiny electrical output of a heart really enough to make a mineral glow? Critics argue that there could be other explanations. Perhaps the copper coils were part of a ritual to direct lightning, or maybe they served a purely symbolic purpose we don't yet understand. However, supporters of the biobattery theory point to other strange findings. In some Mayan codices, there are illustrations that have been reinterpreted in this new light. They show priests holding what appear to be hearts, with lines radiating from them towards figures of gods. Previously thought to be symbolic representations of life force, some now wonder if these are literal diagrams of energy transfer. Furthermore, experiments have been conducted to test the theory's plausibility. Researchers have successfully created simple batteries using organic materials and conductive solutions, similar to what the Mayans might have had available. While they haven't replicated the exact setup with a beating heart, they have shown that the basic principles are sound. A biovoltaic cell can generate a current. The question is whether it's enough to light up a garnet. This is where modern science meets ancient mystery. Labs are now analyzing the garnet material from the statue's eyes. They're looking for properties like phosphorescence, the ability to glow after being exposed to light, or triboluminescence, where it might glow under pressure. If the garnet has some unique property that allows it to glow with a very low voltage, the biobattery theory becomes much more plausible. So, what are we to make of all this? Are we looking at the remnants of a lost Mayan technology, a dark fusion of ritual and science? Or is it simply a case of modern minds projecting their own technological understanding onto the past? The truth is, we don't know for sure. But the Mao, Temple of the Glowing Eyes, has opened up a fascinating new chapter in our understanding of the Mayan world. It forces us to reconsider the limits of ancient knowledge. We often view past civilizations as primitive, but discoveries like this challenge that assumption. Perhaps they understood the natural world in ways we've forgotten, using principles of biology and chemistry that we are only now beginning to rediscover. The temple powered by hearts remains a tantalizing what if, a mystery carved in stone, and wired with copper, waiting in the jungle for its secrets to be fully revealed. What do you think? Could the Mayans have really used biological batteries to light up their temples? Or is there a more logical explanation? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this exploration of ancient mysteries, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. See you next time.